powered by Boxing TV, the place where boxing fans, both young and old, can get their fill of the sweet science 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. With a vast library of over 1,200 events from boxing's most memorable bouts of all time, Boxing TV melds the past greats with today's promising young stars. Boxing TV is the free go-to destination for everything boxing, including classic bouts, live events, and news and information. Boxing TV is available on Local Now, Distro TV, Sports.tv, Select TV, and www.watchboxing.tv. Follow Abrams Boxing on social media at Abrams Boxing on Twitter, Abrams Boxing on YouTube, and at Marc Abrams Boxing on Instagram. Hello, boxing fans. Welcome to the next edition of the Abrams Boxing Show. I'm your host, Marc Abrams, and today we'll take a deep look into the comings and goings and what is happening in the world of boxing. I got not one but two special guests going to join us. Sebastian Fundora, who on April 9th takes on Erickson Lubin in what is going to be a terrific junior middleweight fight. That will be on Showtime. And also have welterweight contender, definitely call him a contender now, Alexis Rocha, who a couple weeks ago is now coming off a knockout victory over Blair Cobbs, the undefeated Blair Cobbs. So we will talk to Alexis about the fight and what he's looking forward to do in the future. Just a couple results from past weekend. Pretty good weekend of boxing. We'll start off in England where Josh Warrington recaptured the IBF featherweight title with a 7th round stoppage over Kiko Martinez. Warrington looked great in front of his home fans in Leeds, England. What a tremendous crowd, though, at the First District Arena in Leeds. They love their Josh Warrington, and Warrington looked great in this fight, and he will I don't know what he's going to do next, but I know the conventional wisdom, they want him to take on maybe, I know the fans out in England want him to take on Lee Wood in a featherweight unification fight, and that'll be a terrific event in England as they're both very popular fighters. So we will see Josh Warrington maybe against Lee Wood next in a unification bout. On the same card, Ebony Bridges won the IBF Bantamweight Championship over Maria Cecilia Roman. Roman was the longtime champion. She made about 5 or 6 defenses of her title, and Ebony won the fight, pretty convincingly in my book. I know a couple people I saw online thought it was a close fight, but Ebony threw 640-something punches over the 20-minute time limit. If you calculate that over a 36-minute, 12 3-minute rounds, that's almost 1,160 punches for Ebony Bridges. So she had a tremendous work rate going Saturday in Leeds, England, and now there's a lot of options for her. Maybe a rematch with Shannon Courtney. I know her stablemate, Jamie Mitchell's also world champion. So, so some good options available for Ebony Bridges. Saturday night in Minneapolis, Minnesota, Tim Tszyu made his American debut with a 12-round close unanimous decision over former world title challenger Terrell Gausha. Scores were 116-111, 115-112, and 114-113. The Tszyu got dropped in the fight, and he basically, he had to work hard, dig down deep in this American debut. I think it was an eliminator. It was a 12-round fight. I know next week's Fundora Lubin fight is an eliminator. When we talk with Sebastian, we'll get into that with him. But Tim Tszyu looked good. What I got out of that fight is I don't know if he's a world champion. I don't know if he beats Jamel Charlo or Brian Castano or some of the other guys at 154 pounds, but I think he's going to be a terrific TV fighter. He's going to be one of those guys, when Tim Tszyu's on TV, you got to watch because he has enough defensive deficiencies where I believe that he's going to make good fights. And the guy's got bricks in his hand. He has really hard and heavy hands, and you can tell when he lands punches that they cause an effect on his opponent like they did to Terrell Gausha on Saturday night. It was one of those rare fights, a lot of love between the two guys in that fight, a lot of respect. Tim Tszyu seems like a very respectful fight, but like I said, he's going to be I think one of those must-watch TV fighters in the 154-pound division. Also on the card, Michel Rivera remained undefeated as he scored a 10-round unanimous decision over previously undefeated Joseph Adorno, that in the lightweight division. And Elvis Rodriguez rebounded nicely since that loss to Kenneth Sims. he scored a 7th-round stoppage over Juan Jose Velasquez. That was in a super lightweight fight. Also Saturday night in Las Vegas, Jeremiah Nakatia stopped the former junior lightweight world champion Miguel Burchell in 6 rounds of their 10-round fight. That fight was on ESPN on Saturday night. Nakatia just really took the fight to Burchell, who really hasn't recovered since that fight against Oscar Valdez. Could we be seeing the last of Miguel Burchell? I think definitely at the high level, he's definitely on the back end of it if we ever do see him in main event, co-main event type fights again. But he had nothing left for Nakatia, who gained a big win coming off his disappointing performance against Shakur Stevenson a few months back. So Jeremiah Nakatia, now he's another player in the lightweight division. His record is now 24-2 with 19 knockouts. So he's going to make a good opponent for somebody in the lightweight division, and he showed he's got some pop. He just couldn't find Stevenson that fight. I mean, Stevenson does that to people, and we're going to find a lot more out about Shakur Stevenson later this month on April 30th. So we'll bring in our first guest. Earlier this week, I had a chance to talk to the super middleweight, super welterweight contender, that being Sebastian Fundora, as I load up the video that we did with him on earlier this week. So here's my interview with the undefeated super welterweight contender, Sebastian Fundora. Yeah. On Saturday night, April 9th, one of the best fights for my money on the schedule. A fight, it's pretty mouth-watering to a lot of boxing fans. Sebastian Fundora taking on Erickson Lubin in, just like I said, one of the best fights on the schedule. Sebastian, how you doing?
Great. How are you?
Doing good. So we got this big fight coming up on April the 9th against Erickson Lubin. What are your thoughts about 8-9 days out?
Yeah, I'm just ready. We're ready for the fight. We've been ready for this past month. I've been itching to fight again, so just excited.
You got tell us, Erickson Lubin, do you see this fight? Your million punches per round against his power punching. Is that the way you look at it?
Yeah. It's an exciting fight. It's as exciting as the fans are saying. So tune in April 9th, and then you'll get the show you want.
And then obviously there's a lot of stuff going on in the 154-pound division, especially on with PBC. Again, it was formally announced today with a press release with Charlo Castano and Tim Tszyu last week. A big performance on April 9th. Do you see this? You're going to be fighting some pretty much mega fights?
I hope so. Hopefully we have next after that Charlo Castano fight.
Is this
will be the number one for WBC, and that's the mandatory right there. So,
what do you see in Erickson Lubin right now? Do you see as the same fighter before the knockout of Charlo? Is he a different fighter? What do you see in Erickson Lubin?
I would imagine he's different now. I would imagine he learned from that fight, and I hope he brings the best Lubin to bring.
You feel, obviously, because of your height and the amount of punches you throw, that fighters can't assimilate you for sparring, and it's just when they get in the ring with you, they're seeing some kind of animal that they haven't seen before.
Yeah, I guess. I just fight the way I fight. I don't really care what other people think. The opponent across from me, I just want to go in there and do what I do best and get the job done.
How many times obviously you have your style where you throw a lot of punches. Is it difficult? Because I know there probably are times where you may be told to stay on the outside, use your gifts, and somehow you're always in these brawls.
Yeah, I always think to myself, why not? Especially if I'm stronger than the guy. You could tell when you're stronger than the person. I go over there and I just dog them out. That's what I like to do. I like to go and fight.
Obviously, you've built up a real good following. I think a lot of it is because of that style. But is this the fight that really maybe is going to take you to the next level? I know the last fight, obviously, Garcia, he had a real good record. Wasn't that well known in the United States. Lubin is a guy who's been on the big platforms before. With a win here on next Saturday night on April 9th, is this the fight that's going to kind of take you to that next level?
If it does, that's wonderful. If it doesn't, that's fine too. But we just plan to win. I want that this is the last fight before the title. I would hope so. And that's what we're aiming for. We're aiming for a championship in this weight class.
You mentioned that. You mentioned before, this is the fight that's going to get you number one. Obviously, you have a real tough customer who was a great amateur, has been knocking on the door of a title shot since his loss to Charlo. Is it tough to not, like I said, you've mentioned getting the title a couple of times in just this interview alone. Is it tough not to think about that, being that you have this difficult fight in front of you?
No, my mind's like a racehorse. It keeps straight. I have my goal, and I'm gonna keep running towards my goal until I get to it.
Couple last questions. Obviously, a new player, quote, on the American scene in the 154-pound division made a debut last week. Tim Tszyu, did you watch the fight? Because obviously you guys may meet at some point down the line.
I didn't watch the fight. I saw the highlights on Instagram. He did his job. And I'm happy for him. Debut here in the United States, and then I'm sure he captured a lot of fans.
And who do you like in the big rematch on May 14th? You have an opinion on that?
Who wins that?
Yeah.
I have Charlo. He's strange. He's too strong for him.
And did you feel? What did you think of the first fight? That was a Sebastian Fundora type of fight with two guys going back and forth with each other.
Yeah, I just see from the first fight, I just saw that Charlo was too strong, and I think he's gonna exploit that the second fight. So.
There you have it, Sebastian Fundora. Any final comments before we see you next week? You're fighting in Las Vegas. One other question: fighting in Las Vegas. I know you've done it before. What is that bring a little extra out of you being the Las Vegas on April 9th?
Well, not really. It's not like I'm gonna go gamble after the fight. So,
well, the history and everything with the Las Vegas fight scene. I got it. I got it. Well, any final thoughts before we let you go and see you in the ring next week?
April 9th, tune in. It's going to be the fight of the year, hopefully. So just expect an entertaining fight.
It's funny. It's a lot of fighters always say it could be a fight of the year. I agree with you. I mean, I think for lack of word, there's going to be a lot of violence in the ring on April 9th. Do you agree with that?
Definitely.
There you have it. Sebastian Fundora, thank you for a few minutes of your time. We wish you best luck, and we'll talk to you along the way.
Thank you.
Thank you. There you have it, Sebastian Fundora, a gentle giant at 6'7". He, I mean, it's unbelievable the way he fights and being that tall, and he just likes to bang. I mean, he doesn't use his jab; he just likes to go in there and bang. And he's fighting a guy with tremendous power, and Erickson Lubin. Showtime announced their schedule a couple weeks ago, and obviously there's a lot of great world title fights. There's a pay-per-view. We'll, get into Spence and Ugas, and we'll get into Charlo Castaño, which is going to be on regular Showtime. Romero and Gervonta Davis on pay-per-view on May 28th. The Charlo guys are both fighting. We mentioned the Castaño fight. We mentioned Jamal is going to fight Maciej Sulecki. And, there's some other great fights on Showtime schedule, but I don't think anyone's going to be more entertaining than the Sebastian Fundora Erickson Lubin fight. So, I mean, I can't wait for that fight April 9th. And, April 9th is going to be a terrific night. There's a few of these nights come up. I know April 30th, there's going to be a lot of action with the Stevenson fight and Amanda Serrano taking on Katie Taylor. But April 9th, you got Fundora against Lubin. You got Ryan Garcia against Tago, and then you got Michaela Mayer on the ESPN platform taking on Jennifer Hahn. So, this weekend, the first weekend of April 2nd, April 3rd, and April 1st on the Friday, obviously, there's really not much going on. I think Sandor Martin is fighting on Friday, April 1st. That's on DAZN, the guy who upset Mikey Garcia. It's his first fight back, so he's coming back. He's back in Spain. Taking one for the home folks, and then he'll be back hopefully in a major fight after that. Should he win his fight on April 1st? Another international fight that was just announced, will take place on June the 4th in the United States, June the 5th in Australia, as George Kambosos Jr. defends his lightweight titles against Devin Haney. That fight is going to be shown on the ESPN on ESPN a late night, or actually prime time, on June the 4th in the morning/afternoon, June the 5th in Australia, in front of over 50,000 people at the Marvel Stadium in Melbourne, Australia. So George Kambosos Jr. Will get to defend his world title at home in a big fight. They mentioned that they wanted to do the fight with Vasyl Lomachenko, but with Loma's inability, and obviously he's doing an unbelievable thing, staying in Ukraine to take on the Russians and the war and everything going over there. And Lomachenko's over there. He's obviously can't get out of Ukraine, so the next best option was, or maybe the first best option, is Devin Haney. So we're going to get a lot of clarity in the lightweight division come the night of June the 4th here in the United States, June the 5th in Australia. So we got a lot of good stuff coming up this month in April, and each week we will get that. We'll get some of the big players, the fighters, the promoters, matchmakers, whoever, here on the Abrams Boxing Show, and we'll be breaking down all the fights, give our opinions on the fights. Next week I'll give my picks. I know a lot of people like to put $1 or $2 on this. I'll give some picks. Maybe I can help someone else win some money, or more than just one, maybe a few of you. A couple weeks back, my next guest, Alexis Rocha, scored maybe the biggest win of his career when he stopped Blair Cobbs in the 7th round of their fight in Los Angeles. Fundora, I said Sebastian Fundora. Alexis Rocha is a guy who was rolling along undefeated, 16-0. Met Rashidi Ellis in a showdown of undefeated welterweights. Ellis got by with the decision by 116, 112 twice, and 115, 113. Didn't really set Rocha back at all, because he's won 3 straight over guys now with good quality records, and the latest being against Blair Cobbs, who was 15-0-1, I believe, coming in that fight, in a fight that became the main event of a show on the Zone after Virgil Ortiz could not fight due to getting sick. So here we have with the once beaten welterweight, now welterweight contender, Alexis Rocha. Couple weeks ago, our next guest scored a humongous win when he took out the then undefeated Blair Cobbs. Welterweight Alexis Rocha join us now. Hey, Alexis, how you doing?
Good, man. Good yourself. Thank you for having me.
Doing good. We're a couple weeks removed from your big stoppage win over Blair Cobbs. A couple weeks out. How do you feel? Did you go back and reflect on the fight and look at the fight? What are your thoughts? Before, during, and now afterwards?
Yeah, definitely had time to reflect after the fight. It's the fighter in me, and I'm really my biggest critic, really, to see what I do good and what I do bad. But I kind of take what I do bad more, because that's the stuff I need to work on to be the complete package. And yeah, I definitely reviewed the fight. There's some stuff I do need to work on. I'm back in the gym already, trying to fix those little tweaks and here and there.
So let's go back before the fight.
Yeah.
The fight was elevated to the main event after the Virgil Ortiz fight fell through. And does that give you any extra motivation, being that it went from co-feature to main event? Maybe a couple more eyeballs, are on you then because of that?
Yeah, definitely more motivation, because I want to go out and shine. Whatever slot I'm in, if it's the TV opener, the second to last opener, or the first fight of the night, I want to look to shine. But definitely got to thank Golden Boy and the Zone for elevating me up to the main event for that. More eyes, more attention, and it definitely motivated me more.
It's amazing. Also, you see the social media stuff, and you guys had a little some animosity before the fight.
Yeah.
That seemed to pick up when that actually happened. When it became a main event fight, it seemed that you two got a little bit more testier with each other.
Yeah, because he was trying to call out Michael McKenton, who Virgil was supposed to fight. And, no, you're supposed to fight me. Let's just move the co-main event up to the main event and just kind of swip positions there. And yeah, he was trying to call out the main event. I told him, I pretty much went online and said, like, no, that's not how it's going to go right now. You still have business with me.
Since the fight with Rashidi Ellis, I definitely have seen that I think you're a different fighter. I think you've become maybe a little bit meaner in the ring. Is that a reflection from the Ellis fight? Did it kind of give you a little bit extra maybe oomph in your game?
Yeah, definitely did. Because I was kind of gun shy that fight. I didn't let my hands go. Respect to Rashidi because he did what he had to do. He was a better man that night. And yeah, I carry that in the back of my mind all the time. I don't like to lose, and I'm gonna go in there and just win. Period. It doesn't matter if it's a stoppage, if the knockout presents itself, then I'm gonna take full advantage of it.
You've had the 3 knockouts since the fight with Ellis. I know there's an old adage: you learn a lot more in the losses than you do in the wins. I mean, have you learned a lot more in those that one loss and the 19 wins combined?
I mean, yeah, you pick up here and there from the wins. Don't get me wrong. You have to see what you do physically. But with the losses, I feel like it's the more of the mental side right there, because it definitely does hurt you as a fighter and as anyone. No one likes to take losses in this, but with losses, with failures, there's growth. And I feel like I've definitely grown from that fight.
And in that fight, obviously, you only lost by a couple points on the scorecards. Have you said yourself, and now being with 20 fights, being a nice round number, have you said to yourself, I'm a couple rounds away from being 20-0?
Can you repeat that again? So I'm 20.
I said you lost by a couple rounds in that fight. Have you said to yourself, now we can say it's a nice round number 20. Have you said to yourself, I'm a couple rounds away from being 20-0?
I mean, no, like the past is the past. It is what it is. You learn from it, and you just got to move forward. I'm 19-1. I look at that loss as a learning experience, a big learning experience, but still there on my record. I don't like it, but it's just you have to come terms with reality. It's just how it is.
Now let's. You said the past is past. Let's move forward for a couple questions. 19-1. You're sitting in a nice spot now with 3 solid knockout wins in a row. You feel you're knocking on the door for the next level, or you feel you're at the next level? I mean, obviously, I don't know if they're going to reschedule Virgil and McKinson, but if Golden Boy wants to keep a nice in-house fight, they have a solid guy in Alexis Rocha, who I'm sure is ready to step up and take on Virgil Ortiz. Is that what your mindset is?
I mean, if it makes sense, I don't see myself fighting Virgil the very next fight. But you never know. Like his career is going one way, my career is going the other way. In the future, if it makes sense, and it makes sense. But as of right now, we're not really looking at Virgil, and I know they're not looking at me because, like I said, we both know our careers are going different directions. But you never know in this sport.
Well, I think both your careers are going up, so maybe.
Yeah. But maybe I'm saying like in directions, like he's going one route to like another title. I'm going for another sanctioning body for another title.
So if not a guy like him, without maybe calling anyone out, or there are some guys that you feel that you have to beat, anyone in particular, or any 2 or 3 in particular?
There's so many names out there. You got the Danny Garcias, the Kell Brooks. I feel like I'm knocking on that door to fight a world title contender like that, to test myself, to put myself in that elevated career, to elevate my career.
So like a real veteran name is what you're looking for next.
Yeah, definitely.
Last couple of questions. Where the fans find you on social media?
On social media, you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Alexis Rocha 777.
And last question, what do you want to say to fans out there before we see you next? I would assume in a big fight, hopefully, like you say, against whether it's one of those former world champions, but a guy, a veteran guy who's going to help you take it to the next level.
Yeah, I just want to say to my fans, I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you for all the support. Fighters put their health on the line, but at the end of the day, when you're declared the winner and all the fans are screaming your name and want to take pictures with you, that means the world to me, and I'm just very grateful for that.
We thank you for a few minutes of your time, Alexis. We wish you best luck, and we'll talk to you along the way.
Thank you, Mark. I appreciate you for having me on the show.
Thank you. And there you have it, Alexis Rocha joining us. You give a guy like him credit. A lot of guys, they lose tough fights, and they kind of maybe start sliding down a different route. He has taken it. And like he said in the interview that he learned a lot in that fight, and he's got 3 straight knockouts. He's now 19-1. And he's a guy I don't know if it's going to be a Kell Brook or a Danny Garcia next, but he may get, a guy similar to that, and he gets by that fight, he becomes an instant contender. I know the welterweight division, a lot of stuff is kind of going to be settled. It's going to be probably down to 2 men after April 16th, whether it's the winner of Ugas and Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford. So, but there needs to be some good young blood and some new faces in there. Why not Alexis Rocha? He's fought guys. Look at the records of the guys he's fought, including Blair Cobbs, who was undefeated. I think he beat a guy who was about 23-1 in a previous fight as well. So be on the lookout for Alexis Rocha. Well, that's our show for this week. Next week, we're going to have, again, another 2 or 3 big guests. We have a lot of big fights coming up to break down, and going to try to get, a couple boxing insiders on, some fighters on, as we continue to do these shows every week here at the Abrams Boxing Show. Like we said, next week we'll be breaking down Mayer against Michaela Mayer and Jennifer Hahn, Erickson Lubin, Sebastian Fundora, and as well as Ryan Garcia and Emmanuel to go. I'm Marc Abrams. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next week.